We all think we know the story of the Titanic, the unsinkable ship, the iceberg, the tragic sinking. But how much of what we know is based on Hollywood, and how much is the real story? What if I told you there were overlooked details, suppressed evidence, and recent discoveries that paint a very different picture of what happened that fateful night? Get ready to dive deep, because the truth about the Titanic is far more complex, and far more fascinating, than you ever imagined. The Titanic. The name conjures images of luxury, disaster, and enduring mystery. But this video isn't just about revisiting a tragedy. It's about separating fact from fiction, exploring the lesser-known aspects of the story, and revealing some shocking truths that have come to light long after the ship went down. We'll examine the construction flaws, the ignored warnings, the controversial decisions, and the new evidence that challenges the official narrative. Prepare to have your understanding of the Titanic completely overturned. The Titanic was billed as unsinkable, a masterpiece of engineering, the largest ship of its time. But that label was more about marketing than reality. The ship's design did incorporate some advanced safety features for the era, such as watertight compartments and remotely operated watertight doors. But there were also crucial design choices and cost-cutting measures that, with hindsight, proved to be fatal flaws. One area of controversy is the quality of the steel used in the Titanic's hull. Some modern analysis of recovered hull fragments suggests that the steel used in certain sections of the ship, particularly near the bow where it struck the iceberg, may have been more brittle than ideal, especially in cold temperatures. This brittle steel theory proposes that the steel plates shattered more easily upon impact, contributing to the rapid flooding. Another, even more debated, issue concerns the rivets. Millions of rivets held the Titanic's hull plates together. Recent research has focused on the quality of those rivets. Metallurgical analysis of some recovered rivets has suggested that they contained a higher than normal concentration of slag, a byproduct of the smelting process. This slag could have made the rivets weaker and more prone to failure under stress. While not all the rivets were substandard, the distribution of weaker rivets in critical areas, like the bow, may have been a contributing factor. It is also important to say that even though the Titanic had a double-bottom hull, the watertight bulkheads that divided the ship's interior into compartments didn't extend all the way to the upper decks. This meant that once water reached a certain level, it could spill over the top of the bulkheads and flood adjacent compartments, ultimately dooming the ship. The Titanic's sinking wasn't solely a matter of structural flaws. A series of decisions and circumstances, a chain of what-ifs, also played a crucial role. One of the most glaring issues was the ship's speed. The Titanic was traveling at nearly full speed, around 22 knots, through an area known to have icebergs. Several warnings about ice had been received from other ships, but these warnings were either ignored, downplayed, or didn't reach the bridge in a timely manner. The captain, Edward Smith, was under pressure to make a fast crossing, to showcase the ship's speed and potentially set a new transatlantic record. This pressure, whether explicit or implicit, may have influenced his decision to maintain a high speed despite the ice warnings. The prevailing mindset at the time was that large, modern ships could simply plow through ice fields, and that icebergs posed little threat. Visibility that night was also a factor. There was no moon, and the sea was unusually calm, making it difficult to spot icebergs. The lookouts in the crow's nest didn't have binoculars, a crucial piece of equipment that, incredibly, was missing or misplaced. By the time the iceberg was spotted, it was too late to avoid a collision. The ship's turning radius, at that speed, simply wasn't tight enough. The evacuation of the Titanic is another area fraught with controversy and conflicting accounts. The women and children first protocol was followed, but unevenly. Some lifeboats were launched significantly under capacity, particularly in the early stages of the evacuation. There was confusion, disorganization, and a lack of clear communication. The class divisions on the Titanic were starkly reflected in the survival rates. A far higher percentage of first-class passengers survived than third-class passengers. This wasn't simply a matter of proximity to the lifeboats. It was also a reflection of the social hierarchies of the time, and the decisions made by the crew about who to prioritize. The total number of lifeboats was also insufficient for the number of people on board. The Titanic carried 20 lifeboats, enough for about half of the passengers and crew. This was technically more than was legally required at the time, based on outdated regulations that were based on the ship's tonnage, not its passenger capacity. The focus was on the ship being unsinkable, and lifeboats were seen as more of a way to transfer passengers to a rescue ship, rather than as a means of saving everyone on board. After the boat sank, there was a lot of questions, especially about the fact that the SS Californian was nearby but failed to respond to the Titanic's distress signals. There were official inquiries held in both the United States and Britain, and while they reached similar conclusions about the immediate causes of the sinking, excessive speed in icy waters, insufficient lifeboats, and a failure to heed ice warnings, they also glossed over some of the more uncomfortable questions about corporate responsibility, regulatory failures, and social inequalities. The captain of the Californian was heavily criticized for not responding to the Titanic's distress signals. The Californian was closer to the Titanic than the Carpathia, the ship that eventually rescued the survivors, but the Californian's radio operator had gone to bed, and the crew failed to recognize the distress rockets for what they were. This failure to act had tragic consequences. The sinking of the Titanic didn't end the story. It only began a new chapter of exploration, investigation, and debate. The discovery of the wreck in 1985 by Robert Ballard and his team opened up new avenues of research. Expeditions to the wreck site have recovered thousands of artifacts, providing a poignant glimpse into the lives of those on board. But the wreck itself is deteriorating rapidly, due to natural processes and the impact of human activity. Deep-sea bacteria are consuming the iron, and expeditions, while valuable for research, can also cause damage. There are ongoing debates about how best to preserve and study the wreck, and whether artifacts should be recovered or left in situ. And despite all the research, all the investigations, all the theories, some questions still linger. What exactly caused the ship to break apart? How did the damage from the iceberg propagate so quickly? Could different design choices or construction techniques have saved the ship? The Titanic continues to fascinate, to haunt, and to teach us lessons about human hubris, technological limitations, and the enduring power of the sea. So, the Titanic, more than a century after its sinking, it remains a story that captivates us, that teaches us, and that reminds us of the limits of human control in the face of nature's power. What do you think? Which aspects of the Titanic story do you find the most compelling, the most tragic, the most mysterious? Are there any lessons from the Titanic disaster that are still relevant today? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this exploration of the Titanic and its enduring mysteries thought-provoking, please subscribe to the channel. We'll continue to delve into history's great enigmas, separating fact from fiction, and exploring the human stories behind the headlines. Give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Until next time, stay curious, keep questioning, and remember, even the most well-known stories often have hidden depths waiting to be explored.